the way we position our podcast is there's a company we work with, Podcast Chef. They produce our podcast. They help us with some of the outreach, and their value prop, which we bought into, was that you can create a podcast for your network of best clients, essentially, which for us is marketing agencies. We're a white labeled development partner for marketing agencies. And so that's exactly is what we did is we reach out to marketing agency owners. We talk to them. We don't always pitch them, but if there's a need, it becomes a good resource for us.
Well, then I'm going to jump right into that and say, like, why? Like, what do you think would make you different? Because, of course, that's where I want to highlight then.
Yeah, so I think in terms of our proposition as an agency, and, you know, especially with who your demographic is of listeners, I think what's been interesting about our journey is we've been going about 8 years, and we have changed our proposition a few times during that time. Some out of necessity, some out of, or the latest one out of actually recognizing where we do our best work. And where we do our best work is we call ourselves a commercial collaborations agency. So although we position ourselves as lead gen, when people come to us, we're not pushing SEO or PPC or like the vehicle to get them there or the specific tactic. Our strategy is very much, we're going to partner you with complementary, non-competitive businesses so we can leverage their know, like, trust to take you further. And the way we realized this was our best positioning was looking back at our most successful case studies. And it took us that long to realize it. So it's almost, there's a little bit of, there's something in there for new agency owners who are struggling with getting their foot in the door. And we actually ran a test where we took 1,000 fintechs and we went to them with our old positioning and we didn't hear back from any of them. We went to them with collaborative partnerships, which is what we do now. And we booked something like 20 odd meetings with like senior decision makers, really good, got lots of really positive responses on top of that. People saying not right now. So it just shows how important your positioning is. But my journey is probably evidence of how long it can take to figure out what that is. Do you know what I mean? So although I saw there was elements of positioning in previous episodes, I guess, that might make us slightly different, that collaborations, partnerships angle. Mm-hmm. And we do it for anyone. So quite a range of businesses from like engineering and manufacturing through to sport, luxury, hospitality. So we're industry agnostic as well. So you might be listening thinking, hey, we've covered all of this, but kind of from the headlines, that's what I felt might be a little bit different.
That's really interesting.
All you, Alex.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, that's really interesting. I had one of my favorite professors, he business guy, but he went to, when he was in business school, he went to the film students and started talking with them, started talking to the artists, and a lot of these startup ideas evolved, which he ended up then starting a startup, selling it, and so forth and so on, and eventually ended up working at very high up in Sony Pictures. And one of the lessons that he said, if you want to really grow as a business or as a business person, you need to go and talk with other people outside of your business. Like go and talk with like the artists and go talk with the engineers or whoever. And that's how you're really going to grow. So that's it. As you were talking about that, which, Josh, I don't think we've had anyone talk about that yet. We haven't had anyone talk about that, but that kind of brought up those lessons from one of my favorite professors, which was cool. Yeah.
Glad he was one of your favorites too. Mm-hmm. Like, he was the worst one. It would have been bad.
Yeah, he was like the wildest one, but also the most successful.
That's
Amazing.
usually how it is.
Yeah.
And also,
He was just teaching for fun. It was great.
more on Alex was saying, but Steve Jobs was all about kind of taking down the silos across departments and kind of getting a lot of knowledge through there. So that was a big thing he was focused on too.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah. Just to talk about that. Yeah. No, I think that's great. You said non-competitive. Did you say partners, or how did you call it?
Yeah, so we describe it as complementary but non-competitive. So to give you examples, it might be like we've got a long-running campaign which is for a wealth management firm, and what we do is we essentially partner them with accountants and solicitors, because accountants and solicitors obviously deal with all these problems, but it gets to a certain point and they need a financial planner. So the way we operate is kind of with that wealth manager in the UK. I'm sure it's the same in the States, but they have to do a certain amount of continuous professional development. So with the wealth management firm, because their clients are so difficult to reach, it's much better to go through referral partners than try go direct. So we actually create the continuous professional development for the wealth management firm, who then educate solicitors and accountants on it. So they make themselves the authority in that space. So when solicitors and accountants have a problem, they're kind of the go-to. And that's kind of correlated in their referrals spiking quite significantly, because we've been able to build this community of complementary but non-competitive partners, basically.
Interesting. Let me run an idea by you. So the way we position our podcast is there's a company we work with, Podcast Chef. They produce our podcast. They help us with some of the outreach, and their value prop, which we bought into, was that you can create a podcast for your network of best clients, essentially, which for us is marketing agencies. We're a white labeled development partner for marketing agencies. And so that's exactly is what we did is we reach out to marketing agency owners, we talk to them. We don't always pitch them, but if there's a need, it becomes a good resource for us. And also the next step for us is now that we're getting close to episode 50, and is building that community that will essentially be a huge asset for us moving forward. Would that kind of like utility be something like what your agency would offer?
Yeah, for sure. So we break collaborations down into 3 segments. So the kind of thing you're talking about, which we'll be doing, is what we call a value exchange. So it's a win-win. So although I'm your target market, I'm winning because my personal brand is getting further out there. I might, be heard by a marketing director who wants to work with us, right? For you guys, leveraging me, I have a lot of agencies in my own network. So when the podcast episode comes out, I'm going to share it. So you're leveraging my know, like, trust within that network. So we call it a value exchange. We call it co-created content. So we've got some good case studies where we've actually taken our clients' and put them together to create webinars, to create white papers, because what you can then do is take it to their competitors and say, hey, do you want insights from this company? And they go, we had one where we partnered, they were a learning development company, and we partnered them with learning and development director at PepsiCo, who was one of their clients. And we did this big piece, and we had people listening live. So it was kind of a webinar setup. And then we took the learnings, put it into a white paper, and we went out to people like Coca-Cola and IBM and said, do you want some insights on what PepsiCo are doing and what their learning and development director is saying? And, you suddenly get a response from these other learning and development directors who are like, we never get offered this. This isn't something that happens in our industry. And of course, Coca-Cola wants to know what Pepsi's up to, right? So suddenly our clients having these conversations, and they're seen as a thought leader in the space. So yeah, absolutely. It's very similar to one strand of what we do. And then the other 2 we call sponsored, which is where we take a startup brand and we partner them with a much bigger business entity to quickly gain market traction. But we call it sponsored because we normally have to pay for the privilege. Then we have what we call incentivized, which is where we have to incentivize the other partner with commission. So we don't pay them upfront, but for instance, a mortgage broker, we go out and we partner them with 10 independent estate agents, and we'll pay 25% commission on any mortgages that they write. So we help them structure that whole deal, like what the commission should look like, when you should pay it, who we're targeting, and putting together the outreach for them, right? So that's kind of how we break it down into those three sections.
The incentives one, I was taking notes on the sponsored one. Can you repeat the incentives one again, please?
Yeah, so incentives is kind of like affiliate. So at a very low level, you could have your affiliates. At kind of a high ticket level, you might have your introducers. So and in one of our case studies, we had a mortgage broker, UK mortgage broker. We created audiences on like LinkedIn, email of independent estate agents. And we went to them with a really direct message telling them how much they could earn as an introducer into our business and what commissions we offered. And we managed to set up, I think it took us 18 months, but we set up and they were formal introducer agreements, about 9 or 10 introducers. The top 2 were passing like 40 leads a month, but super qualified, warm leads. And they were earning, upwards of 10 grand a month just referring their clients in. So it can be super useful at kind of a high level and a low level, especially in very transactional businesses, right? That's where we kind of use incentivized collaborations, which, none of this is particularly new. It's not groundbreaking. And actually people can leverage it themselves, but actually knowing how to structure and nurture and empower a partner to market on your behalf is the difficult bit, I would say, because you've almost got to educate them, right? Like the estate agents kind of know, but you've got to empower them. Okay, here's how you sell into us as a mortgage broker. Here's what makes us different. Here's why we're good to use, right? So there's that piece as well.
100%. Yeah, it makes it easier and they actually keep up with it because you're kind of leading them ahead with this is going to happen, this is going to happen. We'll guide your process. It's a great service.
Yeah. I was half jokingly, half not jokingly going to say, if you need someone to open up a US arm, I love your business model. It's honestly, and I have never said this before, but we hear of a lot of the similar marketing agencies, and you actually highlighted this in the beginning of the call, but we hear about a lot of similar agencies. Maybe they started a little differently, but this is totally unique. And I come from the business development world, and this is literally a business development marketing agency. Is really how I hear it in my ears, at least.
Yeah, you're spot on. That's very interesting because we call ourselves commercial collaborations. So we started off as creative collaborations, and what we realized was it was positioning us against creative agencies, and weirdly, although we can get super creative and we can bring that in, why clients like working with us is because we get involved in their business, right? It's like, well, how much margin can you actually afford to give away? Okay, we're only going to pay commission, say, on the first piece of business done. So we've got to look at customer lifetime value within that. But we become quite close to a lot of our clients because they rely so heavily on us because we're advising them on, that biz dev element rather than it just being straight up marketing focus. So yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that because that's cool.
I freaking love it. I love the company already. We haven't even dove into anything. I feel like I've got an episode's worth of material already, but
and actually, one other thing that I got from that is something that we're not necessarily doing that well, or let me put it this way: we should be spotlighting more. Henry, you said that in the value exchange, a marketing. So we always resend the content. Like after you've been on the episode, you'll be on our mailing list to receive new episodes from what others have done. And we should really spotlight what makes this agency a potential good partner for another agency, because ultimately that's the community, and since that's our audience, we should highlight that as like maybe like an intro piece before we even get into the full episode.
Yeah, I think that's cool, because I mean, I think too many agencies fall into that trap of we're full service, and you talk to them, they've got like 3 people working there, and you're like, this can't be the case.
As soon as we hear full service, we're like, you probably need development help.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you're spot on, right? Normally it's the technical stuff that they outsource and they can do the wishy-washy, but they can't actually do like the bread and butter like you guys do. But I think what's really cool, as you said, is that agencies should be referring to other agencies like all the time. Because marketing is like this big melting pot, right? It's like, I don't know, you wouldn't go up to someone in financial services and be like, oh, well, I guess you can do me a mortgage then, right? Because you have no idea like what their discipline is, what they actually do. So, I mean, we're even members of, you probably have them in the States, but we have a lot of sort of agency collectives over here. So one of them is called Pimento in the UK. And it's independent agencies, and it's a referral network. So you just dive in, you say what you specialize in, and then you partner up. So at the moment, like we're talking to an influencer marketing agency on how we can partner with them, because I don't have a clue. If someone asked me about influence marketing, I'd be like, don't get me involved, right? They scare me. So, I think you're spot on. Making that network work together could be really interesting.
Yeah. The note I'm writing right now is for us, our goal should almost be the first resources marketing agencies think of when their clients ask for something they don't have.
I was on a call today with a fractional CMO working for one of my clients, and we just got into just some random conversation. I told her about the show, and she said, "Oh, so you interview marketing agencies?" She's like, "We're gonna need a lot of help as I create the strategy for them. We're gonna need people to implement." She's like, "Could you make introductions?" I was like, "I have a list of every single marketing agency we've interviewed, every service that they do. Let me know when you're ready." And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. It's a major resource, right? To have that at your fingertips as well. And if you were our client, we'd probably be saying that there are probably ways you can monetize that as well. Like whether you look at it as we, got a big list, but are they going to refer back to you? Right. So if they're not, do you make it a commission? So we'll introduce you, but we'll take 10% of the first year's earnings, right? Or something like that. So
you back it on, add to it. You can just add to the price. We don't have to take from your current, because I'm sure margins are tight.
Yeah, for sure. So, and quite often what I do with people, because a lot of people, they set up these partnerships or collaborations, and it's all, they might send 3 emails and be like, "Oh yeah, I can introduce you to people," when they're sat in these networking groups. And then they kind of run out of steam because they're not empowered enough to know how to refer them or how to look out for the signs that someone needs a dev agency. Like you guys would pick up clues that would go over my head, right? In terms of that. Whereas when you incentivize someone, you've got to find the right incentive, because not everyone's financially motivated, right? So it might be you donate to charity on their behalf when they refer you or something like that. But I think there are different ways you can keep your introducers engaged and keep them nurtured, right? So yeah, I think you could leverage that list as well, the other way to make money, which is cool.
Thanks for listening to the Masters in Marketing Agency podcast. I hope you got a ton of value out of this episode. And before we go, I just want to thank our sponsors, DevNoodle. DevNoodle provides marketing agencies with the ability to offer their clients unlimited website design, build, and management services with fixed monthly plans. If website design, development, and maintenance is holding your agency back from growing, please reach out to us at devnoodle.com, where we make websites easy for you and easy for your clients. devnoodle.com.